Ladies and gentlemen, well, you're 1/4 of the way through. How many of you have learned anything with a round of applause? And it's just going to get better. We've been doing this now, like I said earlier, for about 6 years, but it's the 17th year, or 16th year of the Cybersecurity Symposium, ever since that fateful event called Y2K that kind of never happened. However, at that point in time, the importance of technology within the business environment and its criticality became very apparent. And ever since then, the understanding that with that technology and the access of disconnected communication created a vulnerability that would allow bad guys to potentially travel the same data highways that your information was. So ever since then, the importance of cybersecurity has grown greater and greater. For the most part, I would say 80% of the attendees of this forum are either cybersecurity, privacy, or technology specialists. As this forum has grown, though, we've also been encouraged by the fact that more and more leadership has shown up to listen to the message, to understand their role and their importance. And one thing that I'm ecstatic about today is we have two of the most forward thinkers within the legislature here to talk to you today. The first person that I'd like to introduce is Assemblymember Ed Chau. He represents the 49th District. He's the chair of the Privacy and Consumer Protection Committee. That committee has the jurisdiction of the Assembly, Privacy and Consumer Protection, and spans a wide range of technology-related issues and includes matters affecting consumer protection in both the digital and analog worlds. Specifically, the committee has jurisdiction over matters related to privacy, the protection of personal information, including digital information, the security of data and information technology, as well as false advertising, charitable solicitations, weights and measurements, and consumer products generally. The committee is also responsible for oversight of the Department of Technology within the state government's operations agency. Assemblymember Chau is also the chair of the Select Committee on Emerging Technologies and a member of the Select Committee on Cybersecurity. Also joining Member Chau is Edmundo Cuevas, hopefully I got that one right, the Assemblymember Chief of Staff, and Hank Dempsey, the Assembly Privacy Committee Chief Consultant. So at this time, would you please give Assemblymember Chau a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Russ, for your very kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great for me to be here, to be at your 2016 Cybersecurity Symposium. You know, my interest in cybersecurity is both strong and immediate. You heard earlier about my committee. I do chair the Assembly Committee on Privacy and Consumer Protection, and Russ also delineated some of the jurisdictional areas that we cover. And just to share with you also that I used to be a former engineer. I used to work for IBM as an engineer, and also prior to that, I worked for Unisys Corporation as a systems programmer. You know, Russ talked a little bit about the oversight responsibility that we have as a committee as well. And as you can imagine, public sector cybersecurity is something that I think about frequently. I think we all agree that cybersecurity is an emerging area of public policy that absolutely demands our attention. And yet, cybersecurity is a relatively new area for the legislature because it wasn't until 2015 that the Assembly actually established a committee that took responsibility for that particular area. Yet, in just the last 2 years or so, the critical importance of public sector cybersecurity issue just exploded into the public consciousness. You know, I want to name a few examples. If you remember, just back in June, the United States Office of Personnel Management, the OPM, was hacked into. And as a result of that, the private information of about 21 million people was exposed. And some people actually may also recall that, about the data breaches by foreign actors of our own utility control systems like DAM in New York. And it wasn't too long ago that we heard about the hacktivism happening throughout the state. In fact, these hacktivists made threats against our local government entities, including the city of Sacramento. And about 2 weeks ago, we also heard about the compromised White House emails that contain personal schedules of the vice president and also the first lady. And throughout the year, we've also heard about dozens of incidents of ransomware, attacks on police departments, hospitals, power plants, and even one of our own state senators. Some of you may remember that too. And all of these threats are extremely serious and complex. And it's not an exaggeration to say that cybersecurity may well be the single biggest challenge to public sector IT that we will face for the next decade or even beyond. And when the stakes are so high, it means that the state government has to get cybersecurity right. Now, what does that mean? It means that if we want Californians to trust the government will protect our personal information, if we want Californians to believe that the government will protect elections from outside interferences, and if we want Californians to appreciate and respect the work that we in State California do for them day in and day out, then we must succeed in meeting the challenges that are ahead of us. You know, against that backdrop, there is cause for hope because the state has already seen some promising successes in cyber these past 2 years. For example, the Cybersecurity Task Force and the Integration Center are now providing the state with valuable intelligence and coordination. AB 670, the assessment process under that bill, over the next couple years, will give us more information and individualized feedback to improve our own cybersecurity procedures for all the agencies. There are also bills that we've been introducing and also passing the legislature. One such example is one of my own, AB 2828, which expands data breach notification to encrypted information that has been compromised. And finally, I see that collaboration between the executive branch and the legislative branch has been growing and very positively as well. And I've met recently with your new director of the Department of Technology. She has a great level of energy, and also she has demonstrated an openness, and that will work very well for both of us, as well as for the state of California. Yet, I think there is still much more that we need to do. I think the legislature and the executive branch must craft a more coherent and long-term solution to provide funding for cybersecurity. We'll need to also look at new ways to lower procurement costs and also operation costs. We need to look at things including the use of consumer off-the-shelf products and also business process redesign. We'll need to grapple with the promise of the cloud technology and explore what a statewide cloud migration strategy ought to look like. We should also continue to expand transparency and accountability through the use of performance metrics. We should also engage our local government entities basically to compare notes, trade notes, to find out what their challenges are, because we may have similar challenges as well. We should also explore the expansion of open data formatting to identify some of the benefits it will bring to all of us. We must also foster greater innovation in the hiring process as well as the retention of state IT workers. We must also evolve our own culture to support greater innovation and reasonable risk-taking as well. And at the same time, we retain the responsibility to protect the personal information of millions of Californians from data breaches to identity theft. As you well know, we need to continue to manage the public demands for greater transparency, as I mentioned earlier, greater convenience, as well as greater security, all at the same time. To do all this, the legislature, as well as the executive branch, the public and the private sectors, we need to work hand in hand to genuinely partnership to work out these solutions. And fortunately, we have events like today's symposium to foster and also enhance those discussions and bring forth the creativity that we will need to navigate the road before us. So I want to take a minute to thank all of you for attending today's symposium, and I want to encourage all of you to continue and engage your colleagues with the private sector as well as the legislature. Please reach out to us as well, because without your help, we cannot go forward. So I'm really excited to be here today to speak with you and also lend a helping hand to all of you. I look forward to working with all of you, because the people of California will suffer if we fail. So we must succeed in that endeavor. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and please enjoy the rest of the symposium.